We've made are we've switched from 60-foot to 40-foot electric buses, and we've removed what's known as en route charging. So leaving in place charging at either end of the route, but not um, in route. And we've also, for endpoint number one, have removed the Berkeley Road station as well. So these modest changes have resulted in these current ratings you see here. We have at least one path to a federally eligible project with a small starts project ending at Maplewood Mall Transit Center. We've not made any decisions. We are simply identifying potential paths to federally eligible projects at this point in time. We believe we can get to federally eligible projects for the other endpoints as well over the course of the next several weeks, coming back to you in early November with those results. We're focusing our
again to Councilmember Yang to discuss our approach as well. We did meet with the property owner of the Seeger Square complex. So there's a number of retail sites, grocery stores, etc., in the large complex there in that neighborhood. And initially, we're looking at an option that had some pretty significant property impacts to that site, and wanted to just connect with them and see if they had what their future development plans were, what their interest would potentially be with the options that we were looking at, and received really good feedback from them that helped us decide on which options we were looking to move forward with and receive input from the public on. So that was very helpful. We've also had just a handful of community events, pop-up events, just to build awareness and let folks know that we are looking at some different options for the Arcade Street station. And one of those was at the Eastside YMCA in St. Paul, really close to that in that neighborhood there. And then, as Sarah already mentioned, we are planning for some outreach and engagement decided on the 3 options that she went over the next few weeks here. We can go to the next slide, please. And this is just an outline of our main strategies for this engagement period. We are sending a postcard mailer around to the folks who live in the area, as well as the businesses and organizations around in that area as well. We will have a survey that will be available virtually and also in person at some of our pop-up events. We will do some canvassing throughout the neighborhood there and make sure that folks are aware of the options and have some opportunity to provide feedback in that way as well. We always have our website, newsletters, social media updates, as well as really focusing on pop-up events and meeting folks where they are at. So we will have our first event is scheduled for a week from Monday on the 26th at the YMCA. And that one will be pop-up style, really meeting the folks who are coming and going to the YMCA already, but also inviting folks through that mailer who may be in the area and are able to pop by on that day as well. And then planning for some engagement with the multifamily housing complexes that are in the area. So wanting to do a pop-up in their lobbies or around potentially outside if the weather stays nice for the next few weeks here, but then also providing them with other opportunities to get involved through our canvassing efforts. Planning for a pop-up at the Seeger Square Shopping Center, as well as, again, canvassing to those businesses. The Hmong Village area will have a pop-up as well, and then chatting with folks at the local transit stops in the community as well. Connecting with the Payne Phelan Community Council is very involved in this area, and as well as the Dayton's Bluff Community Council, which is just a little bit outside the immediate neighborhood, but very close by. And we've heard from folks who live in Dayton's Bluff and visit Dayton's Bluff that they feel like the Payne Phelan neighborhood is their neighborhood as well. So we want to make sure that we're engaging with some of the other East Side neighborhoods in that community as well as some individual property owner and other stakeholder meetings. Next slide, please. This is just a radius. I know it's hard to see, but it is a mile around the station location options that we're looking at. And this is where we've sent the postcard mailer. And so it's actually a mile, but it includes almost 4,000 properties. And so really connecting with even more folks than that, because that 4,000 number is just the number of parcels of properties. And it goes a little bit beyond that half-mile watershed analysis that we looked at that Sarah walked through a few slides ago. So just wanted to show that to you folks. This is an image of our high-level engagement image, just letting the community and folks know that we were looking at options in this area. We were studying those options. Next slide, please. So these slides here are just some images of some engagement materials that we have been and will be using with folks. This It will be one of the boards that we'll have at pop-up events, and this is just an example. There'll be one for all of the options, but they do show kind of that aerial image with the map, making sure that we are showing which local routes are in the area, the pedestrian connections, as well as wanting to be clear about the options that are kind of up at Arcade versus below at Phelan, and just some of the considerations, and to point out some of the differences for each option as well. So this is just an example of that, of one of the options here. And then the next slide, please. This is a sample of what the postcard looked like. It was edited a little bit, but looked very similar to this when sent out to folks in the community here. So we'll let folks know about the event coming up, as well as other links to our website for other events and a survey to engage with us and provide their input as well. And that is all I had. So I will send it back to the chair. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz. And thanks, Sarah. That's a lot of good information. And know that this engagement is an ongoing process. Does anyone have any comments or questions at this point?
I do. This is Councilmember Nelsie Yang.
Oh, yeah, please. This is your district, as I understand.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. I wanted to express my gratitude to the staff. They've done a really, really incredible job collecting input from our residents, from commuters and businesses. And I feel that with all the options, they've also really incorporated the concerns from everyone into it as well, and making sure that we are creating the most impact for people, especially who are living in the area and using transit. And so thank you for being really receptive to the need for us to have a very diverse, a very diverse way of getting to folks. As you know, there are a lot of many different people living in the east side, diverse across race and ethnicity, and there's language barriers too. So the need for us to close that language barrier is going to be really important. And they've also shared that when they're canvassing, they're having folks who are speaking multiple languages doing that so that we can close that barrier there. So I think that we have really great options in front of us that, as you can see, provide really great benefits for each option. And I feel what it really comes down to is really hearing from the residents and commuters who will be using the Purple Line, and making sure that we overall create the biggest impact, positive impact for our folks there. So I will be super attentive and really excited to just be a part of the community engagement too. And so thank you all for your work, and looking forward to hearing about the feedback.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. Any other thoughts, questions?
Roselli?
Yes, please.
This is Victoria, and I also wanted to thank the staff. I mean, in all of these presentations, actually, the work that's been done, as we knew it would be. We've always said from the very beginning, all of this is based on data that is evaluated, reevaluated, 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 so that we get the best project that we can. And I'm just very impressed with the work that's been done, and looking forward to seeing how the community reaction, not only on this station, but on what we're looking at as far as the different options. So it's an exciting time, but none of this could have really pulled together so quickly without the dedicated staff that is working on this, and thinking outside the box and trying to figure out how do we make this work, because this is a data-driven project, as all of them are. And the requirements, as I had stated many times up front, the requirements of the FTA are pretty stringent because there's a lot of competition. So whatever we do, they're going to be watching and helping along the way. So again, kudos to staff.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for mentioning that. And absolutely, I'll just jump on that. It's really a process, and it is data driven, but it's also human interactions that help drive our knowledge. So any other thoughts on this now at this point? Because we have time for Craig and then our acting deputy project manager, Mike Rogers, to give us a little update on the Purple Line connector idea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've got Mike with me here today as well. And we just wanted to come back to this group because we had some discussion both in April and at the June meetings about the concept of the Purple Line connector. So we wanted to give this group an update on where things sit with the Purple Line connector. Where we sit today is that we don't have a clear source or sources of funding at this time for either the capital side, which would be the buses and stop infrastructure that we talked about in April and June, or the transit operation and maintenance. Both the county and the council are continuing to jointly explore the potential for non-county and non-council funding opportunities, but at this point we haven't identified any, but things can change overnight. The Purple Line connector as it sits today with not that dedicated source of funding to be able to point to is unlikely to start with the Purple Line BRT operations in 2027. If you recall, in June and April when we were talking about this concept, it was an item to be done with the project but outside of the project's funding. So it was always going to be an issue of trying to identify that funding to be able to have this open with the Purple Line BRT. And so that's the update on Purple Line Connector we have for you today, Mr. Chair. Mike and I would be happy to take any questions from the body.
Any questions on the Purple Line Connector? I think it's also this is a project in progress. So these things could change, but it's really helpful to know kind of where it stands today.
I think Councilmember Yang may have a question, unless her hand's still up from before.
I don't know if Councilmember Yang, your hand may still be up.
An old hand.
It's an old hand. It's a nice hand, but it's all right. No, I thought you were speaking about arcade. Well, thanks, Craig. And any other questions on the connector? Okay, hearing none. Craig, why don't you lead us through the next steps?
We touched on these earlier, but just to reaffirm, we have upcoming CMC meetings that the next one would be in early November. We're targeting either the 9th or 10th. Hopefully we can make one of those 2 dates work for the membership of this body. And hopefully we'll have that locked in here in about a week. I think we were getting pretty decent response back, but we hadn't heard back yet from everybody. And then we're looking at the week of the 23rd of January, hopefully well clear of holiday and family vacations over the holidays, so we can make something work in the week of the 23rd of January for a recommendation on the project. What we expect in November is potentially welcoming another member of the CMC, possibly Washington County. There would be at least one CBAC meeting, if not 2, between now and then. So we'd have a report from, you got to meet one of the co-chairs today, but there are co-chairs. So there's another co-chair that wasn't able to make today's meeting that will likely be here for the November meeting. And then while it looks like we're going to be ending early, Mr. Chair and committee members, for today, I am not going to make that promise for November. I suspect we will go the full 90 minutes to cover all the technical evaluation results for laying out what it's going to take to get to a federally eligible project for each of the 3 endpoints. That will be probably the lone topic on the meeting for November. And then in January, we'll spend the time reviewing the feedback we received from the public on both the Arcade Street as well as the 3 potential endpoints and what it's going to take to get to those endpoints, and then ultimately make a recommendation. So I suspect January will also be a very full meeting as well.
Okay. We got some serious work ahead. Next meeting, early November. We'll find a date. I think virtual, it's great to see everybody in person, but virtual means we can get more people's calendars less challenging. Fasten your seatbelts. There's work here ahead, and the next meeting I think will be great and substantive. Madam Co-Chair, anything that you'd like to share at this point?
No, I agree. There's a lot of work to do, and most of it is really getting the feedback and getting the information together and getting the feedback out there so that we can go forward and make some future decisions.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for participating, and reach out to any of our staff or us. The website's live, so that's always a good thing to visit when you can.
Well, and Mr. Chair, I guess I would like to second that, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Yeah. And a lot of misunderstandings about what is going on. And the more information people have, the more informed they are and can make informed decisions or observations on it. So we're doing our best, but as members of this committee, I think we all have an obligation, quite frankly, to get the information out there, point to the website. I can't think of very many questions that aren't answered there. And if they have additional questions, encourage them to ask. And the staff at Met Council and Metro Transit has been wonderful about getting back to people with the accurate information. So, we need to make sure that everybody's informed, and if there are concerns, we need to address them.
Absolutely. And if you hear a question or a comment, don't assume it's true. Go to the website or go to any one of us.